Hi, I've decided to do something different today in my Substack. I'm going to read a short section from Brian Swimme's book, Cosmogenesis, that came out in 2022. When this book arrived, I knew there was something in there for me. I was hoping there was, and anyway, because it was a difficult time. I mean, it was politically, and there was, in my own life, I wasn't really sure what direction my path was going to be taking. And I just wanted to see what Brian thought and the direction that his work was going, and maybe if there was just some message in there for me that would stand out and I would know that's what you were looking for. And I did find it. It was in the end of the book. I found a lot in the book. I highly recommend it. As you probably know, if you know my work, it has been greatly influenced by Thomas Berry ever since I first met him, really early on in the 1980s. And I feel he was one of the greatest humans of our time in his understanding and his ability to translate, and his very presence, the vibration of his very presence when he entered a room or walked onto the stage or sat down at the table, and you start talking. And so anyway, the part that I found that was what I was looking for is in the chapter called Cosmological Love. And it's from a presentation that Thomas gave on May 23rd, 1983, at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City, at a conference called The Spirituality of the Universe. Yes, there was a conference called Spirituality of the Universe as far back as 1983. So anyway, speaking in somber tones, Thomas declared that in the history of human culture, there have been many different forms of revelation, by which he meant experiences that become foundational for a person's life, as well as for an entire civilization. In Western religions, the most widely known form of revelation would be biblical scriptures, which are an illustration of a human language as revelatory. When prophets state, "Thus saith the Lord," they know the words they speak come from themselves, but they also know there is more going on, that the language and the story it tells have a meaning beyond the personal. What we have largely forgotten, Thomas proclaimed, is the most fundamental mode of revelation, the cosmological. The universe, along with planet Earth, both in themselves and in their evolutionary emergence, constitute the primary revelation of that ultimate mystery whence all things emerge into being. The universe's revelation is primordial. The most spectacular unveiling since the birth of the universe is the supernova explosion. In the 20th century, we have learned that a chemical alchemy takes place in the core of every star. The atoms of carbon are created by stars and poured out into the Milky Way. The creativity of stars is the one and only way carbon is constructed in the universe, which means that each carbon atom in our bodies, without exception, come from a star. There were no carbon atoms in the primordial flaring forth of the beginning of time. Only through stellar alchemy could carbon, with all of its potencies, appear. Humans flower forth from the supernova explosion like roses from a rose bush. We need to relate to this release of elements as we would to a gift that enabled life. Did the universe ask us to pay for this? No. Have we done anything that merits this cosmic gift? No. Traditional language refers to unmerited love as grace, as love freely given. Stars, then, are bestowers of grace. They are bestowers of life. This is true in a general sense, but we need to remember it was specific stars that fashioned the particular atoms of our bodies. Soon the scientists will trace our personal biographies back to the exact stars that gave us our bodies. Following that, the poets will give these ancestors names. We are their offspring. We are those 3 or 4 stars in later form. Our frozen imaginations struggle to see stars as bestowers of grace because we have convinced ourselves they are objects. While it is true that our ancestral stars did not know they were giving birth to us, it is wrong to say the stars did not know. They do know. They know how to create carbon, silver, boron, and calcium. They know how to participate in the ongoing development of the universe. They know how to fulfill their role in this spectacular process. The central revelation of the supernova is its irreversible gift-giving. Irreversible because the star uses its energy to fashion the elements, and once that element is used, it is not restored. The gift requires the star's death. Though it is a one-time endowment from the star, it is an ongoing gift-giving from the universe. Scientists estimate that with the passing of each second, another star has exploded and is dispersing its treasures. This extravagant gift-giving is the spirituality of the universe. It is a form of cosmic love that enables the future to emerge. Our ancient epics extol humans who give their lives for the well-being of their community. Even if these authors knew nothing of supernovas, they were intuitively aware that the universe values generosity. The generous personality is the human mode of a supernova's extravagant gift-giving. What I have to offer in terms of faith is simple in the extreme. My trust is in the star's bestowal of grace. And when I read that, I burst into tears, just as I feel I could do right now. And I have read that out loud many times for myself. And I also read it as part of my presentation at the Center for Ecozoic Studies in one of the Zoom projects that I participated with them on. I was in this apartment, so it had to be within the last 3 years. Obviously, it was after this book came out. Because for me, if Thomas were asked today, he would probably say the same thing. Because Brian put it in the book. And I have no doubt that he was inspired and paying attention to conversations I have no doubt he has with Thomas. So reading that was confirmation that whatever it is at the time I read this in 2022 that was waiting for me to do, that again, like I always trusted, that I would recognize it when it came and I would do it. And so I am in various different ways. So that's what I have to offer today. And I hope you enjoyed it.